Sorry, didn't mean to do that. So this is what comes to me, and things may arise for you, is what was Suzuki Roshi saying when he said, "Good morning, Bodhisattvas"? Good morning, Bodhisattva. To each person. Clearly he was saying you're a Bodhisattva. And then, so what is that? Is everybody a Bodhisattva? I think everybody's a Bodhisattva, but we're all Bodhisattvas waking up to be Bodhisattvas, because Bodhisattvas have deep intentions. And the deep intention is to understand, to wake up to, not just in our heads, not just as a theory or a nice idea, because I think we all have, I mean, I know I have lots of nice ideas about interconnectedness and into-be and my life, but to more and more embody it and live it. That how we are in body, speech, and mind matters and affects the whole world, and certainly affects our own happiness as a human being. And then there's something about welcoming people into the meditation hall. That each person, not that it couldn't be any other venue of deep intent, but in this case, it's zazen, is coming in, that sitting down is, the teaching is, as I understand it, is not that you sit to become a Buddha, but when you sit, you are a Buddha, that this is the embodiment of it. And the more that we take this seat, and whether it's a chair or in whatever way that we are able to do it, and our body allows it to sit down on the earth, feel the uprightness and the connection with the 10 directions above, below, and all around, and breathing in and breathing out. That this is an enactment and an embodiment of our vow. Because otherwise, these teachings are all really nice, but they're all just in our heads. Like, this is a body practice. And so in some ways, I think maybe he was saying, oh, thank you, Bodhisattva body, for walking in, for being here. Or offering your body to this practice and to each other, because clearly who you're sitting next to, we affect each other. And we affect was it the quail outside, and it's affecting us, and all of the town of Sebastopol and beyond and beyond. And I mean, Buddha's teachings would say, in timeless time and space, it's all right here. And that if you think anything is over there, well, it is. Don't confuse reality in the conventional sense, but that our actions of body, speech, and mind, our intention, how we be, really does affect what's happening in the Middle East and in Gaza and in Sudan and in Ukraine in ways that we can't even be. It's kind of where Buddhism jumps off into faith. And that if we sit with deep bodhisattva intent, we know that this is sitting with and for the entire world. We're not, no, it's not like, oh, you're a good bodhisattva. No, I'm sitting for you and you bad bodhisattva, whatever, you know. I mean, we do this all the time. I mean, I'll be honest, we chop up the world and we think there's good and there's bad. And there is good and there's bad. But a bodhisattva holds the space in a way that the intention is, how can I be here with and for all human beings? And what are skillful means? And not just human beings, but rocks and trees and earth and the planet more and more is saying, hey, don't forget me. So that's a lot, it seems to me, just in the very simple act, because that's how it happens. You know, we don't go around espousing this stuff or telling everybody we're a great bodhisattva. I mean, you can, but mostly it just happens through acts of kindness and intimacy and care. Setting up tea, you know, bowing to the person next to you. Good morning, Bodhisattva. So I thought I'd offer a couple of invocations. I gave some of this talk, the Engaged Buddhist Election Retreat Committee. That's centered in Berkeley, but that's up here too. And I know you're doing postcards, and they're going to start doing postcards and election retreats, but we did a sit for democracy. It's like, how do you enter the political realm and not chop it up? And how do you enter? What is the appropriate, I'll get to this in a minute, but one of my most favorite koans is, what is an appropriate response? It's how do we act in this world? So, but let me just back up a little bit here. Here's an invocation that I've adapted a little bit from a pamphlet about Gaza that some Dharma teachers, I think all over the world, put together. I think it's a beautiful invocation. Gratitude to all the ancestors, the blood ancestors, the ancestors of liberation, the poets, the storytellers. Gratitude to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions, past, present, and future. Gratitude to the waters and to the mountains and to all the wild ones, to the earth. Gratitude for our witnessing hearts, our struggles, and our way to truth in the name of justice, in the name of cultivating peace. May we each be the medicine that is here for us, the medicine that waters our heart, which longs to be expressed and acted upon. And may we bring these intentions into the world with our words and our actions as offerings to each other. And may we weave together and form a net, a blanket that can reach across the waters and lands. May there be nurturing of a new path, a new story, the sacred vision of a home and belonging for all. May this be so, may this be so, may this be so. Now, I don't know about you, but my little Bodhisattva heart gets happy. I go, yes. And then I think, okay, so now that sounds good. So now what's next? How do we weave together and form a net and a blanket that's big enough to hold and heal and water all beings and the planet? Some of you may have been following Hosan Alan Sanaki's health plight. He, I think, went in for routine surgery some months ago and had maybe a stroke or a heart attack. Something happened. Anyway, it wasn't clear that Alan was going to come back. It's been a long, painful journey. And kind of miraculously, it does seem a little bit that way to me, he gave a Dharma talk yesterday online at the Berkeley Zen Center. I'm curious to hear it. I wasn't able to hear it in person, but I want to hear it. But he has a book called The Bodhisattva's Embrace. Alan's really engaged in what is called engaged Buddhism. He's going to address this in a minute, but I sometimes think this is funny because I think, how could Buddhists not be engaged? I mean, you're engaged by the very fact that you're alive. But waking up to the fact that we're engaged and alive, then what is that? How do we be here in this world? So Alan says it's a willingness to see how deeply people suffer, to understand how we have fashioned whole systems of suffering out of gender, race, caste, class, ability, and so on, and to know that interdependently and individually, we co-create this suffering. Looking around, we plainly see a world at war, a planet in peril. And then he says, some days I call this engaged Buddhism. And on other days, I think it's just plain Buddhism, walking the Bodhisattva path, embracing the suffering of beings by taking responsibility for them. And then he says, our effort is to be more truly human. That's what we're doing. Good morning, Bodhisattvas. The effort to be more truly human. So then I think, so what is that? This is Zen, you know, it's like you just keep asking questions. It's like, well, something comes to you, but then keep asking, stay with it. So here's one of my, at the moment, most favorite koans, because it comes up for me a lot. Monk asks old wise Zen master Yunmen about the fundamental teaching the Buddha conveyed over the course of his lifetime. That's a good question, right? What's the essence of all this? What are we really doing here? And Yunmen says, an appropriate response. And then the monk, of course, asks, so what's that? What's the fundamental teaching that the Buddha, what if, excuse me, I got my orders mixed up. So the commentary on this is, an appropriate response to this koan is, what if a lifetime of practice is all about cultivating an ever-deepening capacity to respond with wisdom and compassion to the full spectrum of human experience? I like that. What if a lifetime of practice is all about cultivating an ever-deepening capacity to respond with wisdom and compassion to the full spectrum of human experience? That feels to me like becoming a true human being, moment after moment. With always the koan and the question and the intention is, what is this? How do I respond with wisdom and compassion? And then what arises? The heart of Bodhisattva, the beginning of the Bodhisattva path and the continuing cultivation forever is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta being, Suzuki Roshi said this in one of his lectures. I'm sort of taking it out of context, but the essence of it stays with me, is I don't know how to do this. I know I want to help. I know there's suffering. I would really like to keep waking up in wisdom and compassion. And Suzuki Roshi's response to it is, you just keep saying moment after moment, yes, I will. If you think you know how to do it, that's arrogance. If you say you can't do it, he says, sort of like this, that's stupidity. It's like, oh, it's like, but you just moment after moment, you just find what's true for you, what's your deepest heart's intention. And then you just keep saying, yes, I will. Yes, I will. And then the whole world, trust me, as we all know, will keep helping us because it'll bring us all kinds of things that we like, that we don't like. Just, yes, I will. Here I am. Here's from Thich Nhat Hanh. We all have the tendency to run away from suffering. But the fact is that without suffering, there is no way to cultivate understanding and compassion. Wow. It's like, don't try to get over compassion. Don't try to get rid of compassion. Like, too much, too hard. I mean, like, again, I mean, it is. But we start with, there is suffering. It's tender. And it's also, this is what bodhisattvas know. And we let it tenderize us and wake us up, including and starting with always our own suffering. So I know my own crazy, well, I won't say crazy, but I know my deluded states of mind. If you don't know yours, keep studying them. I keep studying mine. It's like, oh, this is causing suffering to myself, to my husband sometimes, to the world. But we need it. The fact is that without suffering, there is no way to cultivate understanding and compassion. Then he says, this is pretty radical. I don't want to send my friends and children to a place without suffering. Because a place without suffering is a place without understanding and compassion. And without understanding and compassion, there can be no happiness. So maybe Suzuki Roshi was saying and acknowledging this also is like, welcome, Bodhisattvas, you got exactly what you need. You got the you got the right measure of, we could say privilege or amazing, like, wow, that we could sit here on a Sunday morning. Woohoo, gratitude. And of course, we all bring our own suffering, our own confusion, our own worry about the world, people that we're worried about. It's like, okay, let's just all acknowledge we're all in this here together. And what's the appropriate response? Here's another Thich Nhat Hanh. From his 2003 congressional address to this country. I was reading back so many of the things that he was saying and bringing about the Vietnam War and what was happening feels so relevant to these times. It's really wonderful that we have him as a teacher and a reference. We have to wake up to the fact that everything is connected to everything else. Our safety and well-being cannot be individual matters anymore. If they are not safe, there is no way that we can be safe. Taking care of other people's safety is taking care of our own safety. To take care of their well-being is to take care of our own well-being. It is the mind of discrimination and separation that is at the foundation of all violence and hate. What's the appropriate response? I don't know, but yes, I will. Because we care. You wouldn't be here if you didn't care. So we need to stop at 10 after, right? If we're going to do. Yeah, no, I think it's good that we're going to do a service, but let me, here's the Bodhisattva vows again. I'm sort of following Thich Nhat Hanh, I guess, this morning. His version of the Bodhisattva vows, which I think is really beautiful. However innumerable beings are, I vow to meet them with kindness and interest. Not just the ones we like, or who wear the right colors or whatever. However inexhaustible the states of suffering are, I vow to touch them with patience and love. Begins here. Touching our own suffering with patience and love, and then we can radiate it out. It will naturally radiate. However immeasurable the dharmas are, I vow to explore them deeply. That's what is this? What is this life? What is good morning, Bodhisattvas? What is this Bodhisattva vow in each of our hearts? And it doesn't matter if you think you formally took Bodhisattva vows or not. Sorry, if you're in this room, you're already a goner, so no, sorry. You're here because you care. However incomparable the mystery of interbeing, I vow to surrender to it freely. Keep giving ourselves. Don't know. The 3 tenets of the Zen peacemaker order. Not knowing, letting go of fixed ideas about yourself, others, and the universe over and over and over again. 2, bearing witness to the joy and suffering of the world. You are alive, so be fully alive. Notice where you turn away. It's okay, be gentle with yourself, but let's notice where and how we parse and shut down, and where our ancient twisted karma arises, like, whoops. And then what do we do next? And the third is take action. Bodhisattvas. Well, one description is you keep taking the backward step. That's what Zazen is. That's Dogen's description. You keep taking the backward step, to me, is into the fabric of existence, into the wholeness of interbeing, into all of my deep, wonderful bodhisattva aspirations and all of my self-centeredness. Keep taking the backward step and breathing in and out with and for all beings. Let me just a couple of things to maybe inspire you. They inspire me. Joanna Macy. Be fully present to fear, to gratitude, to all that is. This is the practice of mutual belonging. We belong to each other and we belong to Earth. The practice of mutual belonging is the medicine for the sickness of the small self and can accompany us through the hard times ahead. Toni Morrison. Of course there is cruelty. Cruelty is a mystery. But if we see the world as one long brutal game, then we bump into another mystery. The mystery of beauty, of light, of the canary that sings on the skull. Unless all ages and all races of man have been deluded, there seems to be such a thing as grace, such a thing as beauty, such a thing as harmony, all wholly and freely available to us. The book I've been reading recently by Eddie Glaude, We Are the Leaders We Have Been Looking For. Stop thinking somebody else is going to do this for you. He's the chair of the Princeton African American Department. Says this asks for an imaginative leap, which allows us to see beyond ourselves and to reach for another, to be vulnerable, to tend and to love, to rip off the mask that blinds us to the beauty of the human being right in front of us, to recognize the distorting and disfiguring effect of hatred and fear and the exacting power of love. And one more from Bhikkhu Bodhi, who many of you may know, who's a scholar and a monk. And he also gets engaged politically, which I find fascinating, that he's kind of fearless about this. From the pamphlet about Gaza, he says, taking a bold stand can be an act of courage and compassion. It doesn't mean that we are being swept away by discordant views and failing to maintain a stance of impartial equanimity. Equanimity should not stifle our capacity to make wise moral judgments or negate our obligation to act on the basis of clear ethical conviction. Equanimity can easily coexist with compassion and accompany conscientious action intended to rectify moral wrongs. So what's the appropriate response? But if I keep asking and you keep asking, and we'll keep helping each other and our hearts and our deepest hearts and what we truly want, not what we want, but what we know the world is, which is a world of where there's a place for everyone to be happy and safe and well. We're going to do the service and do the Metta Sutra. Can I do one more thing that we can still do service, right?